By summer 2026, Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman were ordered to stop calling themselves Saks Global. The company that owned them had just clawed its way out of bankruptcy by cutting its debt by 75%. The story starts 2 years earlier, in 2024, with a real estate mogul named Richard Baker. Baker already controlled Saks Fifth Avenue through Hudson's Bay Company, the storied Canadian retail empire he had built for years. He set his sights on Neiman Marcus, the century-old Texas luxury chain, and agreed to buy it outright. The deal closed in 2024 at a price near $2.7 billion. Baker called the merger Saks Global, promising a combined empire that could outnegotiate every luxury brand on earth. On paper, it looked unstoppable. Three of the most recognizable names in American luxury retail under one roof. But the acquisition came loaded with debt, and luxury retail runs on something debt cannot buy: supplier trust. Every season, department stores must buy inventory months in advance, long before a single item reaches a shelf. That means suppliers have to trust they will actually get paid. And trust was the first thing to crack. Within months of the merger, some suppliers stopped shipping new merchandise to Saks Global stores altogether. Without fresh inventory, shelves at Saks and Neiman Marcus stores began thinning out during the exact season that mattered most. Sales tanked as shoppers walked in and found less to buy than the year before. By December, the company was selling off its own real estate just to raise cash. It sold its 184,000 square foot Neiman Marcus flagship in Beverly Hills. Nine days later, on December 31st, Saks Global skipped a $100 million bond payment. That single missed payment sent a signal to every lender watching the company from a distance. Bonds the company had issued just months earlier began trading for under 30 cents on the dollar. Investors were no longer betting on recovery. They were betting on how much they could still salvage. The warning signs were no longer quiet. They were the loudest signals a company in trouble can send. And the people running Saks Global were about to change, fast, and all at once. On January 2nd, Mark Metrick stepped down as chief executive after working at Saks since 1995. Metrick had spent 3 decades inside the company, through ownership changes, recessions, and now this collapse. Richard Baker, the man who had architected the entire Neiman Marcus deal, stepped in as chief executive himself. It was an unusual move, the dealmaker now personally steering the company through the wreckage of his own deal. 2 weeks later, Baker walked away from Saks Global entirely, leaving the chief executive role behind. President Ian Putnam and the rest of Baker's leadership group left alongside him in the same stretch. In 11 days, the company had lost its chief executive, replaced him, and then lost that replacement too. A luxury empire built on consolidation now had almost nobody left at the top who had built it. Behind the scenes, lawyers were already preparing paperwork for something far more drastic than a resignation. 11 days after the two departures, Saks Global filed for the one thing every retailer dreads. On January 13, 2026, Saks Global filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a Texas federal court. The filing revealed the company was carrying about $3.4 billion in funded debt. That debt traced almost entirely back to the $2.7 billion Neiman Marcus acquisition. 2 days later, a judge approved a $1.75 billion loan just to keep stores running. This kind of loan is called debtor-in-possession financing, emergency cash that keeps the lights on. Without it, 33 Saks stores, 36 Neiman Marcus stores, and Bergdorf Goodman itself could have gone dark. Roughly 70 Saks Off Fifth discount stores were also part of the footprint now under court supervision. Chapter 11 does not mean a company disappears. It means a judge now controls what happens next. For months, lawyers, lenders, and executives negotiated over who would own what was left of Saks Global. The outcome of those negotiations would decide which parts of the empire survived and which did not. On June 5, 2026, a judge confirmed the reorganization plan that decided Saks Global's fate. The plan cut the company's funded debt by nearly 75%, from $3.4 billion. In exchange, the lenders who had provided emergency financing became the new owners of the company. The old shareholders, the ones who owned Saks Global before the collapse, were wiped out completely. Saks Off Fifth, the discount banner, was not saved. It was wound down through a liquidation trust. Right. Every one of its remaining locations would eventually close, ending that chapter of the business for good. The surviving company kept only 49 stores in total, a sharp cut from where it started. 15 Saks Fifth Avenue locations, 33 Neiman Marcus stores, and the single Bergdorf Goodman flagship remain. The company that once operated over 130 combined locations now ran roughly a third of that. The consolidation Richard Baker once promised had happened, just not in the direction anyone intended. On June 27th, the company emerged from bankruptcy under a brand new name, Exemplar Luxury Group. New chief executive Geoffroy Van Raemdonk called it a brand new day, with the right funding finally in place. Lenders pledged an additional $500 million in fresh financing to support the company going forward. The company projects revenue growing from $5.3 billion towards $7.2 billion within 4 years. But one industry analyst pointed out that the underlying fragility never actually went away. Luxury retail still requires massive inventory spending months before each season, funded almost entirely on borrowed trust. Miss one season badly enough, and the same liquidity spiral that broke Saks Global once could happen again. A $2.7 billion bet built an empire, and it took 18 months to nearly erase it.